Welcome back to another Ret Paladin video. Verabin here. Today we are going to be looking at mythics and just how good Ret Paladins are at doing AoE damage. So I've been running mythics all week and I have a build that I think is really strong and I want to showcase that build. This is a build that's been suggested to me a few times, so I decided to give it a try this week and it is phenomenal. So I want to break down this build a little bit for you, why it works so well, and then show you some footage of just how good it's doing. And in this particular one, we're doing Halls of Atonement, which is a really easy one. So I thought it'd be a really quick one to kind of go through. So we'll show some clips on there on what the cooldowns look like and things like that. So let's hit it. Before we get started with the video, please be sure to hodge that like button and subscribe for more Ret Paladin content. We're going to be doing videos about 3 times a week in Shadowlands, so you don't want to miss a thing. Alright, so as the intro showed, there are several components that make this build work really well. The first component is Empyrean Power. That's the one where your Crusader Strikes have a 15% chance to make your next Divine Storm free, and it does a little bit of increased damage, so that's really strong. The next one is Divine Purpose, and that one is going to, again, make your next Holy Power Spender free and do more damage. So it kind of works off a little bit like Empyrean Power. And then the next piece of that is Sanctified Wrath, and what this does is it extends the duration of your Avenging Wrath by a little bit, and every time you do Holy Power, you blast, every time you spend Holy Power, you blast holy damage in an AoE. And those are the talents that are involved here. And the next bit of this is going to be the Tempest of the Lightbringer Legendary, and those are kind of the primary components, and along with our baseline AoE damage that is in Divine Storm and Wake of Ashes. Those are going to be kind of the primary components to it. I'm playing Kyrian right now, so Kyrian is also going to provide me a little bit more AoE damage through Divine Toll, and we obviously have Consecration as well, so we have a couple more AoE buttons that we can hit. So for this build, I'm actually using a single target conduit that is Templar's Vindication, and I'm using that mostly because that's just the highest eye level conduit that I have. I could potentially use something like the Wake of Ashes one that adds a bleed effect to Wake of Ashes, but I think that is probably doubling down a little bit too hard onto AoE. You can definitely do that if you want, but in Mythic Plus, especially in higher keys, my guess is that single target damage is going to become pretty important as well. So in these current Mythic Zeros, it doesn't really matter. They're really easy to just kind of stomp through. So having a little bit more single target damage, I think, is pretty good for that purpose. So Sanctified Wrath is a talent that I hadn't actually used very much. It did get buffed just recently right at the end of beta, so I hadn't really gotten a chance to test it out yet. But after testing it, I can definitely say that it is extremely strong. It actually sims about 10% higher for me, so I decided to obviously give it a try out. Because it sims so much higher, I was kind of worried about losing Final Reckoning because it seems really strong. But the thing about Final Reckoning is that it also does a lot of really snap threat, so it does just a chunk of damage, and then every minute you're doing kind of more AoE damage as well as single target damage. And the problem with that is that I was actually pulling threat off the tanks with Final Reckoning, because I would pop that down really fast and it does a lot of threat right at the beginning. So that's actually ended up being a problem, and I don't know if that's just tank skill or what exactly is going on there, but there are all sorts of tanks that I was having trouble pulling threat off of, and I think that was partially due to Final Reckoning. So Sanctified Wrath is actually a little bit more smoothed out damage over time, so it works really well with Empyrean Power and Divine Purpose, because both of those give you free. They don't actually cost Holy Power, but obviously when you have Sanctified Wrath, they count as a Holy Power spender, so you're ending up popping so much Sanctified Wrath damage on those pulls. And Sanctified Wrath ends up being about 10% of my overall damage, but on those pulls where I have it up just in that one pull, it does a huge percentage of damage. It's really, really fun to see. It pops off really hard, and it's actually it does competitive single target damage as well. All right, so with Sanctified Wrath, obviously it's really important for you to start the pull with full Holy Power, so you don't want to pop Avenging Wrath until you've got at least 3 Holy Power saved up, ideally 5, but sometimes it's impractical in between pulls and Mythic Plus, so you might have to just stick with 3. So starting off with Avenging Wrath, you're going to pop that, then you are going to prioritize getting those Crusader Strikes up, which is going to allow you to get more Empyrean Power procs, so it's kind of important getting all of those things kind of lined up, but at the end of the day, all of your abilities are going to grant you some kind of a decent improvement. I think that getting more Empyrean Powers is more important than getting those Judgments up, because Judgment is going to increase your Divine Storm damage, but it's only going to increase it on one target, so that's not going to be a huge impact. I do tend to hold off on using Wake of Ashes. Obviously, you want to line that up with your wings so you can get one big juicy one, but at the same time, even on the other ones that you're going to get in between, you may want to hold that off until you can get a few targets hit with it, because it does hit pretty hard. So that's pretty good. And obviously, you're just going to spin at that point. You're going to hopefully you're going to get Divine Purpose procs, you're going to get Empyrean Power procs, and you're just going to spin. As long as you have more than 2 targets, you're going to be popping those Divine Storms. If it's just single target, you're going to want to go ahead and use Templar's Verdict. All right, so I included this last clip of the final boss as well for a couple reasons. For one, the AoE damage is really, really important, and you can see in the prior clips how much it just does in Mythic Plus, but your single target damage is actually going to be really, really important as well. You can see in this clip that the tank dies not pretty early on. I guess it was about 30 or 40% of the boss's health, and then at that point, it's just me and the healer left. So the healer dips down to like 1% health. I'm going to pop a Lay on Hands on him to keep him up, and then we're going to proceed to do the last like 20% of the boss with just 2 of us. So this is a testament to how much damage Ret can do in this scenario, and also how much our off healing can actually help. In this scenario, it probably wouldn't have mattered, because we would have just been able to come right back and kill this boss, but it was pretty cool to see that this build can still kind of perform. I think Healing Hands is really important for Mythic Plus as well in this AoE build, because every once in a while you're going to pull threat and you'll be able to pop yourself up on healing. So that is all for the video. If you guys like this kind of content, please be sure to hodge that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one.